Or missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader in the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
City I go, me. Shorty must have heard, got the word, I moved that D. Had it by a bladder, she like, oh, I gotta pee. Ran into a rocko in my restroom. Singer/actress in my bedroom. Got a half a ticket for a walkthrough. Everything I do is big. We gon' talk big money.
Welcome in. Happy Thursday. You are locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. This is your entertainment news update. We're just getting you a little warmed up for the weekend in advance. Friday Junior. That's what they call Thursday sometimes, right? Yeah. You know, back when Rihanna still made music, before she was a beauty mogul. Shout out to the moguls, her and Jay. You are locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. And of course, you're ready for your entertainment news update, where we're getting into all the juice, all the tea that has been flowing down your timeline today. Of course, with receipts and a sharp opinion from me. Andy.
You know, I got to ask you.
Okay.
Let's say Versus came back, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know if they've had 5 songs together per se, right? But let's do Jay-Z Rihanna collaborations versus Jay-Z and Beyonce collaborations. Who do you think would win?
J&B.
Off the rip?
Yeah, because I mean, for me, one, straight out the gate, Beyonce's first single was J&B.
Okay.
Fire visuals, video, the song. Great way to really kick off Beyonce's solo career, right?
Okay. I'll give you Umbrella.
Umbrella's fantastic. Great way to reboot Rihanna's career.
Facts.
That was a remix for Talk That Talk. That one's cool. Fire. Like, I like it. But if we're also, you got to think what we're including in there, right? Mm-hmm. We're including things like, what's the song? Ape Stuff, where they were in the Louvre.
Yeah.
The Dope album, right? The Carter's album. Yeah. You have that. Deja Vu.
Deja Vu is a banger.
Right?
Drunken Love. Yeah.
Here we go. The Bonnie and Clyde theme.
You're right.
So I just feel like there's more. They've probably done more collaborations together. So I'm not saying that Rihanna and Jay don't have fire collabs, because they do. But off rip, I'm taking the ones with Mrs. Carter. And I'm a Rihanna fan. I'm a little more than B. I love them both, but yeah.
What about what's the record with Kanye?
All of the Lights?
Nah.
No. What?
Oh my gosh, it was off the Blueprint 3.
What? Okay, I don't. Oh God. My mind, it's not working.
But you know what I'm talking about, though, right?
I feel like I do. Let's see. Blueprint 3 track listing. Let's see.
It was the lead single.
The lead single? I don't even.
Come on, are we serious out here?
Run This Town?
Run This Town. There we go.
So I'm gonna tell you that
was a legendary record.
It was, and it was fire, but it's cool. I like it, but it very much for me is one of those songs that felt like we're gonna construct a hit. There's nothing wrong with that, but we're gonna put these elements together. We want this to cross over. this is something I can hear in commercials and stadium, and that is the song that we are putting together. That's how it felt for me. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad song or that it's not fire. It's just not something I would line up like, yeah.
Sounds contrived is what you're saying.
A tad, but I mean, again, I don't necessarily, shout out to Royal Jenkins in the chat because he hit us with the Run This Town before we got to it over here. But yeah, and again, I am not mad at people following a blueprint per se, because if something has proven to be successful, there's nothing wrong with following that path. But sometimes I don't want to be able to see that that is the path that you are taking. So it might just be me as a consumer.
Kind of like DJ Khaled is what you're saying.
A little bit, yeah. Like, you know, like at first Khaled was new and it felt fresh, but then after a while, everything just feels really, you know where we're going with this. We know what's going to hit here. It doesn't feel like everyone ever was in the room together recording their verses or any of that. And I know we're digital now and you can send things across the net, private lines, not like before when you had to drop in with the DAT tape. And so sometimes I think that in-person connection and chemistry is missing, and you can feel it on the tracks because they feel a little soulless, if so. When we come forward, we're going to get into our trending topics and headlines. I'm going to let you know what we're talking about tonight. All of that and more. We love a good music topic here. We love it. All of that and more when we come forward. You're locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're riding with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, and it's almost time to celebrate KBLA's 4th anniversary, coming up Juneteenth 2025. We'll be marking the achievement with 4 key community events, including a special symposium, luncheon, and brain trust hosted by me entitled The State of Black Women in Los Angeles. Keep it locked here for details on how to join us for this groundbreaking symposium examining the unique challenges, triumphs, and contributions of Black women in Los Angeles in the areas of education, healthcare, community leadership, cultural and political contributions. This public convocation will provide a critical forum to address the specific social, economic, and political realities facing Black women in LA today. We'll go live with a radio broadcast and YouTube live stream, a public discussion, and a private dialogue with some of LA's most impactful women. It's an affirmation of Black women standing at the intersection of race and gender in times of adversity while demonstrating remarkable resilience and leadership. We will listen and we will speak out and be heard, all in service of finding opportunities and solutions. Please plan to join us in celebrating our 4th anniversary by amplifying the voices of Black women. For more on our symposium and 4 events celebrating 4 years on the air, simply stay tuned or keep an eye on KBLA1580.com and help make this Juneteenth more jubilant with all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
How serious is youth vaping? Irreversible lung damage serious. 1 in 10 kids vape serious, which warrants a serious conversation from a serious parental figure like yourself. Not the seriously know-it-all sports dad or the seriously smart podcaster. It requires a serious conversation that is best had by you. No, seriously, the best person to talk to your child about vaping is you. To start the conversation, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Now back to more entertainment news with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back in. You're here with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. So since we were talking about music, and since Dr. Nee was talking about at the end of his show, the low sales on the Beyonce tour, allegedly, for Cowboy Carter, and the tours that are coming up. We know here in LA, Beyonce's coming at the top of May, and then Kendrick and SZA at the end of May, Chris Brown over the summer, and oh, by the way, a new one just entered the chat. In addition to, remember last night I told you about at the Hollywood Bowl, Uncle Charlie, El DeBarge, Babyface, and one other person who I'm leaving out, who I apologize. Well, there's something also for the ladies that want to get lit, right? Keisha Cole is celebrating 20 years of The Way It Is, and she's going on tour with Tink, Wale, Lil' Kim, Friday, Jeremiah, T-Pain, SWV, Jadakiss, and more. So, listen. Your concert dollars are being put to work in the summer. Who are you choosing? Who are you picking up and going to see? I honestly feel like, and I was talking about this a little bit with Andy, that though we love Beyonce and we know the show is going to be spectacular, and I do believe people enjoyed the album, I don't know that they're necessarily clamoring, as we have seen with previous Beyonce albums, perhaps, to see the show. Now, that's not to say that I don't think that the shows will eventually sell out if they aren't already, because, you know, if day of, you could get a reasonably priced ticket to see Beyonce. I mean, hello, I think one of her shows is on my birthday. Chop, chop. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, there are certain things happening with our economy right now. We are being played fast and loose as far as what our goods and services are going to cost. So people are game planning for that. And it's like, yo, I saw Cowboy Carter on Christmas on Netflix. Do I really need to go? I might need to see Not Like Us in person. Never seen that before, right? I've personally never seen SZA live. So if the choice for May is one or the two, for me, I'm taking Kendrick and SZA just because I've only seen Kendrick live one time. And I would like to see this album performed live. And I like SZA. And then I would dip down and go see Keisha Cole and the Unks at the cookout at the Hollywood Bowl. I think that's a good time. But realistically, what do your concert dollars look like right now? Morris Phillips says $59. Everybody likes to feel good. Well, you know, we'll see what happens. Concert season is definitely upon us, so we'll check back in. All right, let's get into this Tracee Ellis Ross and Oprah clip because, of course, continuously, people are kind of like still in their feelings, still in their opinions because Oprah never married Stedman or had children, and Tracee Ellis Ross is living her best single, moisturized, hydrated, well-dressed life, right? Tracee Ellis Ross goals, you know, she just looks like she lives impeccably. You know, everybody has issues. I'm not saying that, but she looks like she has a good time. So there's a clip that is floating around of the two talking about why they never got married or had kids. And, you know, some of your responses on social media are giving a little bit of 1995 respectability panic. You know, why are they still single? That crowd is in shambles. So let's hear what they had to say. And then, of course, as we always do here, we're going to talk about it.
Well, I didn't marry because I knew that I would not be able to have the life that I had dreamed if I married. I didn't marry because I've been partnered with Stedman since 1785. And he is a wonderful man, but he is also a traditional man who had his own ideas about what being a wife was. And the moment what I realized, and this is what you all to know for yourself, I wanted to feel worthy enough to be asked. And the day he asked me, I started to feel like, oh God, what does it really mean to be married? That's when I started to ask the questions about what that really meant.
I am choicefully single, happily, gloriously single.
Amen.
And I do wish there were more examples. So many people ask the question, have you ever thought about having children? Like, I mean, my child gave my life meaning. I'm like, are you saying my life is not meaningful?
Yeah.
And because of the structure that we live in, it is so easy for me to feel undermined with all the accomplishment that I've had. And my accomplishments, I don't mean the Whopper stuff. I mean, like, I take the garbage out before it stinks. Like, I eat food that's good for me. I get my sleep. I show up for my friends. And that makes a life very meaningful. And somehow the rug gets pulled out so quickly when people put me in the, you should be married. Why aren't you married yet? Like, what's wrong with you?
So I think that there's a lot there. The chat is already chiming in with bits and pieces. Morris Phillips says, Jill, didn't Tracee tell Michelle Obama she dates younger men? I'm just saying, what does her dating younger men have to do with anything? I mean, she might. I'm sure she's dated men her age at one point, but do you think that, are you attributing that to her being single? Mimi, Pretty Brown Mimi says, I've only heard bits and pieces of Tracee's interview with Michelle and Craig Obama, but love the topic of women that are 50 plus can still have a beautiful life being single and not being a mom. And let's see. Mimi also says, I'm a pro marriage, pro single, pro whatever you want for yourself. And I feel like that's the important thing. There isn't one size fits all. And for a long time, especially you think about the generation that both Oprah and Tracee grew up in. Obviously, there is an age difference there. But part of success wasn't for women careers-based. It was about having a family and being married and being defined by the men in your life, really being defined by extensions of yourself. And while there's beauty in that we of course see, there's nothing wrong with them deciding to move for them. Oprah realized what he wants from a wife, that's probably not me. So then you would be mad at her and critique her had she have gotten married and not lived up to the thing, and you'd still call her a failure. And then as far as Tracee, doesn't it make sense not to move if you're unsure? And I'm not saying she was unsure or any of those things. I'm just saying, if you haven't found your person, do you want to, just for the sake of adhering to what everyone else's standard is for success in life, do these things? And, there's compromise and there's settle. And I think people mix up the two all of the time. There will be compromise in all relationships, but you don't have to settle just to check a box. And I think that these two are prime examples of that and can and do live full lives. And of course, the question is asked, especially of Tracee, what about being lonely? She can cry with rich chick tears. No, I'm just playing. But family and friends are important. And I don't know why people don't include that in the equation of a fruitful and full life. That goes for men as well. Your connections are important. And I'm not devaluing marriage at all, but I'm saying respectfully, don't jump into something, which these two haven't, just to check a box and to make it look as if you've achieved someone else's version of success, Lucas Frank says, Oprah has been dishing out bad advice, but people don't have the space, time, or money to follow. Bad advice. What's bad advice, Lucas Frank? Tell me. I feel like this is coming from we don't have enough families, we should get together and, make sure that the Black family is supported and uplifted and continuing on. It may not be, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I also think not everybody is necessarily going to find their person, and maybe not find their person in the timing that people deem correct. May not find their person when they expect to, like in their 20s and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, may not find their person and get married. There's all different versions of it. Morris Phillips says Oprah was married to her career. There's a lot of men that have been married to their careers and they don't receive the same flack for it. They're supported. They are encouraged by that.
Shout out to patriarchy.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And some of the things that Oprah has done is changed lives, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever you feel about her. She has changed some people's lives. So, I mean, isn't this what we tell women, or what we told women at one point in time? Because I think people forget, as far as women have come, that the fact that in the 70s, women weren't allowed to have credit in their own name. They weren't necessarily allowed to have their name on homes and things like that. And as men were going through their paces, elevating in their careers and such, and when divorce became something that was more understood, these men would leave these women with nothing. And people would say, well, maybe she should have had a career. Maybe she should have. Why is she entitled to all of the things he worked hard for? She was just a housewife. So they go and they build a life for themselves. And let's be clear, that's not necessarily a luxury that Black women had. They always kind of had to be involved in the workforce. So I just don't understand why they are viewed as less than because they aren't married or didn't decide to have children.
Jill.
Yeah. I mean, I do understand.
Okay, there you go.
I'm saying why we're still having this conversation about them when they have explained it several times and they're successful. And if you're going to say, well, they're probably lonely, everybody gets lonely. It's people that that have married 20 years that probably are lying in the bed next to their partner and are unhappy. That's not the reality for everyone, but you are only as happy as you feel in your circumstance. And for some, that means a stable career. That means, enjoying friends and family. And for others, that means a traditional, more nuclear version of family. Morris Phillips says, whoever marries my daughter, he'll be the domestic engineer. What does that mean, Morris Phillips? Does that mean the head of the household? He who runs things? Lucas Frank says, Oprah gaslit an entire generation into thinking that being married and having a family is too humble. When you're alone in your house, you're not going to care what Oprah did for the world. I strongly disagree with that. You're saying that it is the women who have decried marriage? What planet are you on, Lucas?
You don't have to be married, to not have somebody.
Right. I think that what we have seen, especially over the last 30 or so years, right? And I don't think that this is something that you can put on Oprah, but if you're talking about Gen X, perhaps, is as, let's say, a liberated movement took over in the 90s, right? For both white and Black teens. But with Black women, it ended with, more exploration of our sexuality through music, through clothing, which, if you kind of look at it, was also kind of the switch up of relationships and that type of thing, as hip hop became the main source in pop culture and R&B kind of wasn't our through line or reflective of what we were seeing. Everyone wanted to be more independent on both sides. So I wouldn't necessarily say that Oprah convinced a generation of such. I will also say, look at what happened. You're completely ignoring what I said about divorce, where hundreds and thousands of women were left to figure it out when someone they devoted their life to, were being the good homemaker to, decided he wanted to change in the midlife crisis, and Black and white were left with remnants. So there's a lot that has happened, and I don't think there is one thing that you can point to, but I also don't think that we should have smoke just because a woman did not get married or have children. There's lots of ways for success. Morris Phillips says Heather isn't going to earn $300,000 a year and stay home, and somebody has got to be in the home. Who says she isn't? And let's be clear. Are most of the men complaining earning that $300,000 figure? No, they probably need both salaries to make that household stand up as well, right? Because you probably need each other. So let's not make it out like if you were talking about men of a certain dollar amount and price point, that's something different. Stedman, though very successful, doesn't earn what Oprah earns. It's just what it is. So if you want to play that game, there's lots of ways that we can do it. Royal Jenkins says Stedman should have changed his standards once Oprah became a millionaire. But he didn't. Why? Because he was cool with where he was at. Much the way, and I'm not saying this is true for Stedman, just using this as an example, much the way that you say some of these women, especially if we're talking about sports figures and their high school sweethearts, are cool. They have no developable skills. No, they haven't developed their skill set. Not saying this is Stedman, just using this as an example. But they're comfortable. Stedman was obviously comfortable with the setup. They've been together for 40 years. And see, still critiques. Says a lot. When we come forward, we're going to get into more trending topics, more headlines. You're locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Talk to me, yeah. Love it when you talk to me, yeah. Say what you want to, say what you like to, say what you want me to do, and I got you. Tell me how to love you, tell me how to hold you. I'ma get it right on the first try for you. 'Cause you would never had a woman like me, yeah.
You're in the know with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Esther Dillard with 4 things you should know from BIN News. 2 people are dead and 5 people hurt after a shooting around noon at Florida State University. The FSU police chief says the gunman is a current student at the school. The 20-year-old shooter is the son of a sheriff's deputy and had access to one of her weapons. The Supreme Court will hear arguments on birthright citizenship next month. President Trump signed an executive order ending automatic birthright citizenship as enshrined in the Constitution's 14th Amendment. Just days before municipal runoff elections are held in Mississippi, Democratic U.S. Representative Benny Thompson, who is black, announced his endorsement of State Senator John Horhn over black incumbent Chokwe Antar Lumumba for mayor of the city of Jackson. And Kodak Black reportedly has paid rent for more than 200 residents at a Florida housing community. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Pasadena slowing down 210 eastbound, loading up at Mountain. Delays all the way to the 57 freeway. More slowing ahead in Upland from Baseline almost to the 215. The westbound side of the 210, we're seeing delays here getting out of the La Cañada area from just about Windsor Avenue. Delays in stretches as you travel to just before the 118 freeway. Tough in Castaic. This is the 5 southbound. Delays away from Hasley Canyon Road. You've got a work zone ahead, and that's keeping the drive solid all the way to Lyons Avenue.
Are you sick of drying chlorinated water in your home? At LifeSource, they believe your health, your skin, and your hair deserve better. Enjoy delicious, clean water from every tap with a LifeSource water system. Call 1-800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Big props to the Rams. The Rams will make their picks for the NFL Draft at the LA Fire Department's Air Operations Headquarters in Van Nuys. The Rams are paying tribute to the responders who helped battle the wildfires in January. $3 million have been donated by the Rams for relief efforts. The 3-day NFL Draft begins April 24th in Green Bay. Barring a trade, the Rams will have the 26th pick in the first round. The Chargers' first-round pick is at number 22. Serena Williams made Time Magazine's list for the top 100 most influential people in 2025. The Compton native, now 43, retired from tennis in 2023. Her last event was the U.S. Open in 2022. There are reports circulating that former Tennessee quarterback Nico Imaliva is preparing to transfer to UCLA. Imaliva, who grew up in Long Beach, led Tennessee last season to the college football playoffs. Stay tuned. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
I feel so alone.
I'm embarrassed to talk about it.
How can I help my kid if I can't help myself?
I can't remember when I wasn't stressed.
I don't like to inside.
When you feel overwhelmed by your thoughts and emotions, it's okay to get help. You are not alone. CalHope is here for you with free, safe, and confidential mental health resources for youth, young adults, families, and you. Find support now at calhope.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
You're listening to Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back in. You are locked in with Jill Munroe, and we are sensational tonight. Absolutely. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to tell you that if at any point you want to join this conversation, 800-920-1580. Of course, you already know the YouTube chat. It's on fire, so you can hit us up anywhere on social media, KBLA 1580. Me personally, I'm at Stiletto Jill. Holla at your girl. So just to put a pin in this topic on Oprah and Tracee, I mentioned that Tracee was on the latest episode of In My Opinion with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson, that podcast. And so Tracee said this: as much as grief does surface for me around not having children and not having a partner, I still wouldn't want the wrong partner. I'm not interested in that at all. You have to make my life better. It can't just be I'm in a relationship just to be in a relationship. Even though the grief does emerge and that comes and I hold that, I think of what I've done. I think I woke up every morning trying to do my best. I didn't wake up one morning and be like, I'm going to mess this day up. So, I think people got to be realistic and recognize that these two women know themselves as well.
That was Tracee who made that statement?
Yeah.
See, this is where I just got to push back just a tiny bit.
Okay.
Look. I understand coming across the wrong person, so to speak, right? But I also think at the same time, you're not going to find anybody that's perfect. You are going to bump heads. You are going to have issues.
Let me ask you
so
this.
What's right as opposed to wrong?
Let me ask you this. Why does it have to be that an individual that says that is necessarily looking for perfection and not that they recognize maybe a relationship has run its course or maybe isn't right for long-term things? Because you have to think, I'm sure she's come across some men that maybe, wanted children, but maybe not marriage. And maybe that wasn't right for her. Or, wanted marriage at a time when perhaps she wasn't ready or didn't want marriage. All of those things that you can come across that can make a relationship not sustainable.
I get that. It just sounds like it's just coming from a place of fear. You know what I mean? Because if you're caught up on, I don't want to deal with the wrong person, by no means. I'm not saying rush to get into one. I'm not saying that. But I also think at the same time, just understand that whoever you deal with, marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever type of situation, you will bump heads. And probably during the moments where you're bumping heads, you're probably going to be thinking like, oh, is this the right person for me or not? I think that's a natural feeling. And I just think ain't nothing ever perfect, period.
I agree. Nothing's ever perfect, but I don't think it's to that. She is a woman of a certain age, so I think she understands that there's going to be ebbs and flows within your situations with each other. After all, she's seen her mother married several times. I'm being funny, but I'm just saying, I think that most people, when you get to a certain age, recognize that everything is not going to be sunshine and cake. But that also doesn't mean that you should settle because, there might be some things that are fundamentally different. So that's all I'm saying. Lucas Frank in the chat says, Oprah's advice applies to people who want to be CEOs, and that is not what most women want. She needs to start the conversation with her grief about not having kids instead of leaving that as a footnote. Why does it have to be women that want to be CEOs? And how do you know what most women want to be and what most women want to do? If their desire is wholeheartedly to want to be a wife and that is what they're chasing, they will find their way to it. I think that we are mixing apples and oranges when you're saying women are not just blindly following. Well, Oprah said to do this. Oprah doesn't even really give relationship advice. Let's kind of start there as a whole. She talks about other aspects of life and what evolves in that. But I think for some men, Oprah seems to be a trigger. And I think it has everything to do with finance.
You know why?
Money.
Because, that's number one. I know a lot of men that I think that would love to wife Oprah simply because
So
of the
they
paper.
say.
So they say.
And that sounds cool until they're getting called Mr. Winfrey and people are like, Mr. Winfrey, can you get out of the picture, please? Oh, are you the assistant? Oh, you're a husband. Oh, nice to meet you. And they're overlooked.
And I think some of them would not care. They'll be okay being Mr. Winfrey.
For a time. And then, let me ask you this. Why do you find, right, men that end up with these boss type women, right? We saw it with Mary J. Blige. We saw it with Sherry Shepherd. We've seen it with like a lot of women. These men just because a lot of men just do what they do, but a lot of these women end up getting cheated on. Why? Because these men start to feel a little inferior or, maybe a tad just a tad emasculated by the finances?
I'm probably going to go ahead and say maybe more emasculated maybe by the woman's ego at that moment. You know what I mean? Like, they know that they're the breadwinner, so then they start low-key kind of like being disrespectful. You
like
know what
men? You say they're acting like men? What men do to women? What they've always done? I'm just saying.
Let's not get off the topic. Let's not get off the topic. We're talking about the woman right here being the breadwinner.
We have Fahima from D.C. on the line. Fahima, welcome in. How are you this evening?
Greetings, Jill. Listen, I turned in late, 2 years late, and I told Andy I might be as wrong as two left shoes. But I suspect, and don't be surprised, if many years from now you find out that Oprah and Devin Graham actually were married, they just didn't tell anybody.
I could see that happening. I could see that happening as well. Just to keep people out of their business, just to keep the commentary. Exactly. Yeah, I could see that happening.
Exactly. So he wouldn't be known as Mr. Oprah Winfrey.
I think that is an excellent point as well. Because there is a lot of pressure that comes, as much as this goes for men or women, as much as it sounds desirable to be with someone who is very high profile and very wealthy, there are a different set of pressure that comes, different sets of pressures, I should say, that come along with that, different types of exposures and different types of situations that sound exciting on the surface, but once you're in them may not, develop in the way that you envision. Andy? Okay.
And if I were her, to avoid that stigma, I would probably, it's nobody's business whether she's married to him or not.
I agree, but we live in a time where, and Oprah understands it because, listen, she dragged out a wagon full of 40 pounds of fat to illustrate her weight loss. So she knows what this industry is, but you just got to take your time and figure out what works for you, and what worked for you in 1988 may not work in 2025. That's the way it goes. Andy?
All right, Fahima. We love you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for calling, Fahima, as always.
As Fahima was posing her question, it had me thinking about, like, presidents and stuff like that. And, like, they make it a big deal, like, for them to be married to somebody, right?
Because it projects the image of stability, that there is balance, that a family life, that they are responsible to someone, that there is someone that they come home to, that they understand giving of self and keeping things together and being the leader. Yeah.
So maybe that applies to Oprah and Tracee. Maybe that's why they're getting the flack.
That they need a leader. They need someone to be the head of their household and guide them and stand in
Look, I really don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't see why maybe a single man or woman can't run for president. But it's like you look at somebody like an Oprah and you look at somebody like a Tracee Ross. And look, I'm not the one to judge. I respect their stances. But I just understand, like, damn, like Tracee, like, I'm pretty sure that there's 20 million men out there that is ready to go on bended knee with the ring. And I think that's just what it is. You know what it is? I think there's some men that feel like, you know what, you're closing down that opportunity. Like, I'm trying to knock on a door, but you over here like, I'm just happily single. Like, come on now, give me a chance.
Maybe. Then they got to step up and shoot their shot. It's Shy Brother out here in these streets. Listen, when we come forward, we're going to get into DMX's ex-wife. She lost a key battle in court. We're going to talk about it, and this kind of relates to the topic at hand. All that and more on the other side. You're locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're riding with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done,
you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach, transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal, prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back, and you're listening to your entertainment news update with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. So let's get into this Tashera Simmons story. That is the ex-wife of DMX, and she recently got shut down in court after trying to claim 50% ownership of his music catalog. She and DMX divorced in 2013, but after his passing in 2021, she said that she was entitled to half of his IP. Well, Judge David F. Everett said, ma'am, where is that in writing, basically? So here's the breakdown. The divorce docs did say that she was entitled to 50% of his intellectual property rights. But the judge ruled that the language only meant to include royalties and not copyrights or trademarks. So DMX allegedly owed her $214,000 in back child support when he passed away. And he was engaged at the time to a young lady, and they have a small child. So this is who partially this battle is going back and forth with, as DMX passed away without a will. So the reason why I say this is connected, we often talk about being married and how that solidifies a wife, and even in divorce, the order, blah, blah, blah. But when your paperwork is not in order, when your house is not in order, when you are involved with someone who doesn't consider that a priority, these are things you got to talk about. These are things you have to consider before moving forward in a situation. And I'm not faulting DMX, obviously. I'm not faulting Tashera. I'm just saying this is the reality of when we talk about, women taking care of themselves, women focusing on career and not on family. But time and time again, we are shown examples of women who made that choice to stand by their man, the man that was making more money in most of these cases, support them, give up their dreams, and then in the end, they are left with crumbs or nothing and have to figure out how to rebuild themselves back up. So just something to consider. And since we're talking about love, women, and splits and togetherness and all of these things, right? Meagan Good was recently on the Jason Lee podcast, and Meagan is still that girl as far as I'm concerned. Don't take anything away from Meagan. I know people have had their commentary about her marrying Jonathan Majors and the situation that he was in, and especially considering that she was just married not too long ago to DeVon Franklin, and people, wrongly call him a pastor and all of those things, but he's more of a motivational speaker. But she got real and raw and gave us the lowdown, what people have been wondering the entire time, the real story behind her divorce from DeVon. And just like we thought, it wasn't necessarily mutual. She said DeVon left. And she's saying, I can't say he bleeped up or that she did. She said we just grew from it. We just grew apart. So basically, translation, he left, but she's not pressed or bitter. And we know now that she just earlier this month married Jonathan Majors, and DeVon is engaged to fitness pro Maria Castillo. He proposed, I believe it was in December in Hawaii. So everyone has, moved on and evolved. And Megan's message basically was move on, glow up, and never beg for a love that's run its course. That's grown energy, right? But once again, Megan is someone who doesn't have kids, was criticized throughout her marriage with DeVon for not what people felt having children, dressing in a certain way, not knowing what her situation was surrounding children and things of that nature. But you're criticized no matter which side of the thing you fall on. Fahima in the chat says Damian Wayans had an interesting reason why he never married. He had a secret child. Further, many of the guys dragging Ross are afraid of commitment. Also, let people live their life. I mean, people have many reasons why they don't necessarily want to walk down the aisle and what works for them. I mean, you want Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. They've been together for like 40, 50 years. Not married, have children. I think you have to figure out what works for you sometimes and understand that, especially in modern times, the way that some of the things evolve, marriage won't be right for everyone. But you got to have that conversation. And if you are with someone that wants marriage and you don't, or vice versa, then you probably got to either move on or understand what you're really signing up for, and no regrets 5 years down the line. We'll have to see what happens, how all of that develops. And lastly, since we're talking about this, Will and Jada Smith have quietly been unloading some property around Southern California. This time it was a $2 million Mediterranean-style home in Woodland Hills. It's 5 bedrooms, 5.5 bathrooms, cathedral ceilings, chef kitchen, all of the goodness, a lush pool, backyard setup. They purchased it in 2010, allegedly for a family member, but now it's back on the market. Now, we know that Will and Jada are living separately together, or however they term it. So some are wondering if these quiet property sell-offs mean that they are finally going to officially separate their pairing, since the world knows everything now. We'll have to see, but I think they're another couple situation that have gone through some bumps and bruises, worked things out, did the for better or worse thing, and people are still mad. So no matter which side you choose, you might have some heat coming your way. We know that. Pretty Brown Mimi says Goldie Hawn has been married at least twice before her 40-year relationship with Kurt. Just saying. And she could have decided, and I believe she did, that, I don't want to go through that again. We know Cher has made the same assertion. Cher hasn't remarried. Cher likes young guys. Somebody brought up Tracee dating young guys. Still never let me know what that meant and what the connection to that was, but we'll let that ride. Listen, thank you for always locking in with us here. We appreciate your time. And don't forget, I'm now on 7 days a week. So if you miss me, make sure that you tap in on Saturdays at 1 p.m., Sundays, the repeat at 3, so you can hear all of your entertainment news updates, hotter than your group chat, more fire than your DMs, and more lit than a weekend with who? I don't know. We're going to leave that open because we don't want to put all their names out there. It could come back to haunt us in times. I'm just kidding, you guys. Listen, I hope that you are having an amazing Thursday. You're getting ready for the weekend. And up next in the building, the voice of reason, Zoe Williams. He's going to hit you in the head with all of that good logic, good topic. You know, you can spread the love from this conversation on over there. Some of those strong opinions. Love to hear Zoe's take on that as well. Thanks for locking in, guys. I will tap in with you tomorrow.
Control them, yeah. She dance it, she wind it. She make me want give her body back shots, body. Give her body back shots, body. Give her body back shots, body. Oh, 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 oh. Back shit the way I jump for NYC. Yeah. Big girl, she carry the best I've seen. Yeah. Steadily ready me, I sing. Sweet in my belly, you're like cake, I sing.